Hello and a very warm welcome back to Widowed AF. You're here with me, I'm your host, I'm Rosie Moss and I'm always here. Joining me today, I have got Nathalie Bruneau. I knew I was going to cock that up, Nathalie. I even wrote it down, didn't I? Bruneau. It's just Bruno. I should have just written the word Bruno. Nathalie, I'm leaving that in because I think people need to see the behind the scenes, what really goes on in this podcast. Nathalie Bruneau, a very warm welcome to the podcast. You may notice, listeners, that she's got the most gorgeous French accent. So hello and welcome. Thank you for coming on today.
I am delighted. I'm a bit impressed to see you.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet. We're both sweating. Nathalie's in an attic. I'm in what I affectionately call the sweat box, which is my studio. So I have an ice pack up my back. We're gonna see how we do. We're gonna be fine. No one's gonna die of heat exhaustion. Poor choice of word. No one's gonna pass out from heat exhaustion. Right, Nathalie. So your story is a really unusual one. I've not spoken to anybody that's had this sort of similar circumstances to you because your husband, Leo, was Chinese, right? So you were living in China at the time of his death, which must come with an enormous amount of complexities. I'm thinking, off the top of my head, you've got language barrier for starting points and different cultural approaches to death. But I think before we get to that, it would be really, really interesting to hear a little bit about Leo, who he was, how you met him, and what your life looked like before the big, terrible thing.
Okay. So hello, everyone. I traveled to China because I got a job there. And I was not really fond of China. Actually, I really didn't care about that country. I mean, it was not on my bucket list. I wanted to move to India, actually.
Okay.
That was my big thing. And I started to learn Hindi language, and I wanted to work for Bollywood movies. At that time, I was pattern making.
You were what making?
Pattern making.
Oh, pattern making. Yes.
Yeah. So the job was actually to work for a fashion school. So
wow.
I went for the interview, and they planned to open another school in India after the Chinese one. So I told them, okay, I will just stay 6 months, then you train me, and then please send me to India to open the school and to make my dream come true. But finally, I mean, life has, of course, its own way. Yes. I gave my first class, so I was ready. I had an interpreter because I was teaching half in English and half in French. So every time we would have an interpreter with us to translate in Mandarin. And so that class was taught in English. So I was waiting for my student, and they were arriving, and I saw two guys because, of course, fashion. So you have a lot of girls.
Yeah. So
mostly in their 20s, I would say. And then two guys came in, and one was Leo, and he was really, really super well dressed and mannered, and a bit too much actually for me.
Okay.
Because I at that time I was more into some kind of mysterious kind of
a bohemian type.
Yes. So actually the second guy was kind of more like that, and I was like, oh my god, this guy looks nice. And then of course I start to ask my students to introduce themselves, and I wonder how I will be able to memorize their name. And because I need to say, when you're in a classroom full of Chinese students, then you're just like, oh my god, everyone looks quite the same, and they do think the same about us.
Yeah.
So it's very different from them to differentiate their teachers. So it was a really interesting moment. And then when they introduced themselves, I learned that Leo was actually 27, and that he never studied, and he owned a few Adidas stores in South China, but he wanted to just live the dream, come to Shanghai, and learn about fashion.
Is that unusual for Chinese men to be interested in fashion?
Well, I guess when you're not from, let's say, Shanghai or a huge city, it's not something exceptional, but it's not in class. even in France, actually in fashion schools, like I guess the ratio
Yeah,
of
still
like
quite skewed. Yeah.
yeah, but at that age it was quite surprising and interesting because it's like you gave up something you did just to go
Mm.
back to school, and yeah, so that was okay. I mean, it was fine, but it didn't really like, I don't know. It's like I didn't have a crush on him like for the first class. Then after that, actually, the other guy was also older than most of the students, and they were coming from the same from Fujian, which is a province, let's say in front of Taiwan, like if you
Hmm.
want to place it on a map, and and with like the atmosphere was really chill in that school. It was really really fun, and the other teachers, everyone was getting along quite well. So very quickly, actually, we organized some team to go to visit exhibitions or this kind of stuff, and we managed to really go out a lot with one or two colleagues and Leo and that other guy, and then my interpreter. Like we were quite like a good bunch of like a bunch of people like really having fun together. But that was it. That was it. And I left France, and I left a kind of, I don't know. It's like when you wear too much a piece of clothes, and you're just like the piece of clothes is exhausted, and so was my relationship in France
Yeah.
with a boyfriend. So maybe it was also an excuse to just but we
Schedule.
didn't break up, so I was still with that guy, and the plan was that he would come and meet me in China, and we will try to make it work because maybe we thought the change will be good and etc. But I was having a lot of fun with my new friends, and very very quickly I learned that Leo was actually really interested into me.
Did he speak English?
So is so the thing is like he was trying. So I didn't speak Mandarin at all, and I didn't really want it to learn because in my mind I was there for
Six
a few
months, right?
months.
And it's a complicated language to learn in a short time, right?
Yeah, and I was like, well, there was not really a point in doing that. So the two boys, man, like they were like more than 25 years old, but so they were like, one was really good at English because he studied English before, and Leo was kind of trying his best to speak, but really his English was just like beginner level. So I don't know. The thing is like when I am with foreigners, I have a tendency to just really speak their way. I don't know how to say it, so which upsets my sons very much these days.
Do you
But
mean
I
you
don't
sort
know
of
why.
take on the accent a little bit when you're?
Yes,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
I get that. Yeah, like a
and they
chameleon
hate
almost.
that, and I'm so sorry, but I cannot help it. I still do that. I'm trying to change, but so I anyway I could understand him, but we want to have huge conversation, and I would go with the other guy, like the mysterious one, and we would have coffee and we would talk about so many interesting things. But that relation I didn't have with Leo. But one day, this very interesting guy uh, told me that the students were living in dormitories, and he said, like, "Do you know actually Leo tells everyone that he's in love with you, and that one day you will be like his girlfriend." And I was like, who can say this kind of thing? It's like bullshit. It's like I was like, he's so not my type, like always super, super like you can see my hair, everything. I'm not a very, very like I don't know, well put
Polished.
person. Yeah. And he was and so I really thought this was crazy. I was like, and it felt like he was kind of a conquistador. I don't know, but like wanting to invade my space. I don't know. I
Okay.
thought it was really, really kind of. But I need to say, I was kind of also impressed by the,
Confidence.
yeah, and the fact he was sure of that.
Yeah.
It's like without even telling me.
Yeah.
So I knew that yeah. So I lived with it, but I was doing like, okay, nothing is really. happening. And one day, when I was I was living in my flat, and I was usually talking with this guy, like quite chatting with him on the phone, like very, very not a smartphone. Like, that time we had like the
Back in the
Nokia
dark
rolling around.
ages.
And then one day he texted me, and I thought it was the other one. So I just picked my phone, and it's Leo. And he said, "I love you." Just that. "I love you." And I'm just like, oh, I'm his teacher. And what should I answer? And I couldn't make it too difficult to understand because, his English was basic. And then I was, okay, shall I answer? I don't know. If I don't answer, then he will tell me tomorrow because, I'm teaching him. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just like, okay, then I just write, "Thank you," and nothing.
What everybody wants when they proclaim their love for somebody.
And yeah, and for a few weeks it stayed like this. And actually, one day, like during let's say after party time with an Austrian friend of mine, and Leo was that there with me, and he told me that I have to choose. That I have to choose in my life between my long time boyfriend that I didn't really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was really like. It was just before he was coming to visit me. Sorry, I'm so sorry for the huge amount of grammar.
No. I'm here for the drama. Like, I
Mistakes.
am buckled
Sorry.
in.
And then actually, so very seriously, he told me that I have to decide what I want in my life, and was it so my I would say old boyfriend, or or this new student, and or him. And I don't know how he formulated it, but I was so annoyed because I could feel like without me talking to him, he knew so much about me. I don't know, he could see through me. Mm-hmm. I was really annoyed first. Yeah. But then like when he left, I bursted into tears, and I was like, I don't know, it was a huge like like a bomb in my brain. I was like, well, actually, he's right. Yeah, I have to figure out what I want. It's all good memories. And then he would come to visit me if I was sick, and they would cook some kind of, in China, they make a porridge with rice when you're sick, and with my interpreter, they would make that for me, and it was really, really sweet. And then one day he asked me, like, we were sitting on the sofa, and then he said, like, "Why on earth don't you want me for a boyfriend? Like, yeah, why is that
with me?"
And I said, like, well, actually, you love me too much. I mean, I can see you're really, but I don't know. For me, I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. I love you as much. And I don't want to hurt you, because if it lasts 1 week, and then after 1 week, I'm just like, no, mm-hmm. It won't work, then it's terrible. And then actually, he told me, but I'm not a boy. I'm 27. Yeah. It's okay. I will survive. I'm a man. And then I was like, well, actually, that's true.
When you put it,
and that was, and then I was like, okay, what do I want? And then I said, okay, because it was gorgeous. Let's say, I need to admit, it was gorgeous. And that was also a surprise, because I need to say, for me, going in China, I was not so sure to find someone really gorgeous, but then I was like, well, actually, I won't mind try. So that was the evening of our first kiss. And after that, it was quite complicated, because at that time I was not a teacher anymore. I had been promoted, which helped also, because I didn't want, even if, I mean, he was an adult, but it was kind of gross. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I didn't feel comfortable. So, but still, regarding the school, so it was a kind of secret relationship, which was also
quite exciting, right?
Because you meet, in the corridors, and you're just like, "Good morning, ma'am. Good morning." But so that was fun, at least the first month. And then after, like, you just want, because you have to be careful, like, Shanghai is big, but when you're going out, everything, like, everyone is going out quite in the same places, and you just don't want to. So after some time, then like they just I spilled the thing, and I was so sure to be fired for that. And my Chinese boss just told me like, you just have to know people won't be nice with you, knowing that, and and that's what and I it actually because she was her English was not French actually she's speaking French and English but very not really like the level is not that good. So I actually told her like 3 times at least because I was like, oh my god, she doesn't understand what I say. So I was like, so you see this student in the school? Do you know which one? Okay, this one, this one. Okay, I'm going out with him.
Yeah.
I have in a relation, and she's just like, be careful, people won't be nice. And I'm just like, that's not possible. She should fire me. So I was like,
Yeah. Come on.
please, just I don't, him and me, like, we
I'm just starting to like.
it was like really fun. But
Okay.
but
What?
he had a good image because he was older than students, so he was really talking to teachers, to staff, to everyone. He was not shy, so they knew him.
What? What do you think she meant by people won't be nice to you? Did you experience any kind of unpleasantness or anything like that?
Actually, I don't think. I think it was more like for the image, I guess. Nothing came to my ears really.
That's good.
No, I mean to say, except again with this English, because we were communicating in English only, and after that, actually, people often ask me, but did you really enjoy it? Because like, if the level is not really good, then you cannot have deep relationships or conversations, and actually, for me, it was, and it still is quite the opposite, because
Interesting.
and I just understood it quite recently because with the menopause and all,
Oh yeah.
I
Fun,
pointed
right?
my finger on ADHD
Yeah.
and gifted, and I found out that I was actually, and
Same, Natalie.
really,
Yeah.
I know that's but it's amazing how people attract each other.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I told a friend that it was the opposite, because for me, if I have to go through English, because of course I cannot speak English as good as my French, but then it means like I have to go straight to the point. I cannot wander in, especially French is like so many words to just say
Yeah.
something simple, and also the French culture and everything, which is like really, I'd say, not the highway. And then it was the same for him. So I actually thought it was pretty cool
It's
because
really
we had to
interesting.
be really blank and, straightforward.
Yeah. Get straight to the big deals rather than the chit chat and the
Yeah.
small talk.
And
Yeah.
actually, it's only now that I realize how great it was for my brain.
Yeah, because you're taking out the external noise, aren't you? You're just focusing on
Yeah.
communicating with this person. And there must have been a sort of a real chemistry there as well. There's
Yeah, I
it's
guess.
cheesy, isn't it? But when you're deeply attracted to somebody, I don't necessarily just mean physically. I mean, there's just this kind of magnetic
Yeah.
attraction. Then actually, that can kind of transcend language, can't it?
Yes, I think. But then people would say like, okay, it will be okay, like for
Yeah,
two,
yeah, yeah,
3 months, like whatever. But then you're never gonna, make
yeah.
it. And then I guess like to just move forward. Then after, I don't know, wait, all that story was like 2007 and 8, and I guess 2 years later, I discovered I was pregnant.
So a
And
surprise.
yeah, totally surprised because I have like, now talking a lot about symptoms and everything, but how do you say that? Like, I don't know the letters, but it's like when you have polycystic ovaries,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like,
It's like
you know,
endometriosis or something like this, or
not endometriosis, but it's like SP, I
PCOS.
don't know, Spock or something like that in
Is it
French.
PCOS? Polycystic
Yes,
ovary
I think
syndrome.
that. Yes,
There we
yes, yes,
go.
yes.
Look, there we
That's one.
go.
And then so I was told it would be very difficult for me to have
Mhm.
kids, and it was fine because I really didn't picture myself as a
Mhm.
mother. So I was okay. And then when it happened, I was 37. And yes, it was like, I need to tell you, like, actually, I just did a test because he told me, aren't you pregnant? I don't know if I'm telling that to you, but okay, let's do that. Because actually, I found out a really good Chinese doctor doing acupuncture and other stuff. And then one day she said, like, oh, I can do many things, not only healing people, but for example, for the wrinkles, for breast. I was like, what for breast? Yeah, I can help you grow your breast. And I'm just like, no way, let's do that.
Get those needles out.
And then one day Leo is just like, wow, or it's really working, or you're pregnant. And I'm just like, no way, I can't. I was
Yeah.
told, and one thing I didn't mention is I was married actually in France, like when I was super young, like 23. It lasted 2 years. I've never been pregnant in my life. So I was really,
Yeah.
no, that's not possible. But then when he told me that, I was kind of doubting. So I buy the test and I pee on the test and it says yes. And I'm just like, what are those Chinese tests? I'm sure they
It's
are
5
wrong.
more tests.
Oh gosh. So then I went to the hospital and they confirmed it. And this was actually, culturally speaking, this was a big step for me because I don't know, like, even if I was in a long relationship with a Chinese guy, I couldn't really feel the pressure. But then knowing I was pregnant, I don't know, it felt like a dog on a leash. I was like, China would just hold me.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a very stupid reaction, maybe, but then I just told him on the phone, when I'm pregnant, I need to buy a plane ticket to go to Paris. And I went actually for to visit some kinesiologist. Do you have that,
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was amazing because like she found out that I had a fear really deep inside, and then I fainted during the session, and then I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm keeping it. It's like it's like everything was clear. So that was my first son, and my second son was born like less than 2 years after that.
Well,
Yeah.
in China, again, forgive my ignorance, I know very
I
little
know.
about the country. Is because you weren't married at this time, is there a cultural issue with being unmarried and pregnant or not?
Yeah, actually, I mean, if you're a mixed couple, it's okay. I mean, you could have kids without being married.
Yeah.
Our problem was that Leo was still a student and I was the one working. And then actually, my Chinese boss, like one day, really late. I mean, I was at least 6 months pregnant. And after a meeting, she just casually just said something like, "Oh, Natalie, if you choose free," it was really like that kind of sentence. If you choose free, then you got no money. But if you choose the prison, the jail, then you will get the money. I was like, what? What do you mean? And then I started to try to understand, and she meant that if I was not married, then my leave, my maternity leave, would not be paid. And and about the jail, I told her, well, actually, I have a baby in my womb, so I guess if you call it jail, then it's already here. I mean, it's like forever, right? So but I was really, really pissed because as I said, I was married before. I got divorced. It was not. I mean, it was not that bad, but it was like too early for me, and I really didn't want to make the same. I don't know. I didn't want to get married again, and especially for a money reason.
Yeah, yeah, if it takes the
It was
romance out
kind
of
of,
it a bit.
yes, totally. So I remember I came back home and I explained that to Leo, and he was so happy. I was so pissed because, for a Chinese guy, it's important to get married. It
Yeah.
still is important. Only a very, very few of them just move away from that. And and he had explained me that actually with his life, it would have been quite difficult to find a wife, because in China, it's like if you have a son, then you immediately know that you will have to it's like the is it a dowry? Dowry is on the son side. It's like
Dowry.
the son, yeah, the
Yeah.
son has to have an apartment, a car, a good job, at
Okay.
least to find the girl. If not, there's no way.
I mean,
And
having
he
seen
didn't
the
have,
dating scene in the UK, perhaps that's something we could bring over here.
yeah. But and sometimes it's a bit unconscious. Even I would say, in our
Yeah.
countries, the parents still want to find a guy like with all this thing. So, and he had nothing like that. And I was like, who cares? That's for me is completely out of the picture.
Yeah.
So they said, just let's do it. And I was like, okay, man, just let's do the paperwork. So we just did the paperwork. We never did the whole, because it can be huge parties in China with like 5 outfit changes. Like,
Just what you
it
need
can
when
be
you're
really,
heavily pregnant.
yeah. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. And speaking of relationship, it was beginning sometime to be not as smooth as
Mhm.
the first years. So I wanted to wait at least to see how uh, it will be
Yeah.
years after that. Why not? If but at that time, no, I was like, okay, let's do that
Yeah.
paper, and it was just to go on the counter and wait for. It's very very not romantic
No, no.
at all.
Like going to get your driving license or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you've got married, what, and this is while you're pregnant with your first son, and then you've gone on to have and you had two boys, is that right?
yeah,
Two
yeah,
boys. So then, I'm guessing that Leo has finished studying by this point and perhaps is
yeah.
working. So what's life as a wife in China, wife and mother? How's that?
Well, I started to learn Chinese
Yeah.
because after when my first son uh, arrived, I went back to work really. I mean, of course, I had the maternity leave, which was good because that was funny. I was an old mother, so I could have 4 months of maternity leave. But an old mother in China is from 26 years old.
26.
So,
I'm definite. I was 37 when I had
so
my third. I'm definitely an old mother.
So that was it, and I was still working the high heels, everything, and then my second son arrived, and then I was tired. I was like, I wanted to quit. At that time, actually, our relationship was not that good because so we started work, and he was working in fashion too, but on the PR
Yeah.
side of fashion. So a lot of like events, parties, and that is famous in China. Like if you close a deal, then you have to drink a lot,
Okay.
and so it goes with everything. And so then I discovered that the drinking side was not good, and that after I don't know, it's like I guess it's like that for a lot of people, but it's like till that glass it's okay, but then if you have one more, and then he was becoming really angry and violent in a way that it would throw things at home and this kind of things. And I didn't really feel safe anymore.
Must have been very
I would say that
scary.
after all those years, I'm thinking that it was also the pressure of um, because at first he started to work in foreign companies like Gucci and this kind of stuff, and he could not do that because his English was not that good. And I discovered that it's interesting that he had dyslexia. And it's interesting is that in China, because the characters are like little drawings,
Yeah.
you're not. But it's when you come to our alphabet, that's when you can see a person is dyslexic. So it
So
was a bit like for his career, it was so. Then he moved to Chinese firms, and I don't know. I think afterwards that having to let's say to have a Chinese shoot all day, then to come back to have a more international way of being, and then also the pressure of two sons, because I actually noticed how people were thrilled with the first one and would tell him, "Wow, congratulations, it's wonderful, son! Wow, my God, you won the lottery," and this
mhm.
kind of stuff. And then with the second one, they would say like, "Oh, good luck," because it means two apartments, two,
Yeah, two
like,
dowries.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Is it still why again, forgive my ignorance, but I know for a long time that there was the one child cap in China. Has that been lifted now?
So it is actually now. When I
Back
was
then,
there, because we were mixed couple, so it
there's
doesn't
different
apply to us.
rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but then still for the Chinese citizens, like you could have two kids if you were both single kids, you
Okay.
know. So there was something like that, and also if you were from a minority,
Mhm.
then it was possible because I guess it's about quotas and everything. And now and at that time, if you had a second one, you could, but you have to pay a kind of fee. I don't know, and the fee was like 1 year of your salary. So it
Wow.
means like only super rich or super poor people
Yeah.
could do that. But now it was I think because the lack of girls, I think
Yeah.
it was lifted. I won't say I think now two is okay because I have also some former colleagues who have two kids now. So I think I don't remember when,
What a
honestly.
difference between the first and the child to have the, the excitement for the first and then the second be a bit more like, oh, good luck. That's a
Well, for me, it was fine for me, and for him, I don't know because it's difficult. At that time, there was really a mix between that, and it was still okay, I guess, because the astrology
Mhm.
was saying because astrology is also a big thing in China, and I remember like I don't know, we found that like our first son would not really get along with him. I mean, the
Okay.
astrologist
Yeah.
said that. And that the second one, because of the sign, will bring war, peace, or whatever. So turns out to be like that.
For you, again,
But
that must have been very alien that, this astrology, which in Western culture is, for most people, is a bit of fun. It's not
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
that you base
totally.
big life decisions on.
Like for me, it was more that when I saw how serious he took the first one, that I was really pissed because I was like, that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
It's like you have to put on the work in a relationship and then you will see, and it will be nothing
Yeah,
like
because you
it's
don't want them
written
to
on
give
that
up, do
paper.
you? And so, well, there's no point bonding with
It's
this
like,
baby because we're
come
not
on,
going to
it's
get
a
on.
baby.
Yeah.
Like with, but yeah, I'm kind of open to this kind of thing. At least, just I don't want them to just lead your life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, but it's very important because I know that when they do the for the wedding and everything, like we didn't, but most people just ask an astrologist for the perfect time, the perfect day, the perfect hour, and this kind of stuff, and it has to be really, really precise. And but I guess it's like that in. I mean, we spent a lot of time in India, and like
You did get to India in the
so.
end.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
after
After.
after that, at that time, so the drinking was really. I mean, he was out a lot, and I had those two small sons, and my second one was just born. And also, in my personal life, my father passed away when I was in my first year in China, and I was told my mom was sick just the day my second son was born. So it was a huge. I don't know. Like I entered the tunnel like for a few months, and then I had to travel to France to get a permit because for my second son to go out because I couldn't. He had no passport. He was born in China from a Chinese father, so we had to just pull strings to just
Lots of
have a
admin
document.
involved.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the paperwork. It's kind of like not that easy. But then, so it was a bit confusing. And my mother passed away quite like she had like a brain tumor, so
Oh,
it was
sorry.
really really fast. And that's what it was diagnosed as at first like severe depression, but no, actually it was some tumor pressing some part of the brain and this kind of stuff. So it was yeah, it was kind of tough. And I was actually happy to be in France for some weeks just to breathe a bit from
Yeah.
my everyday life because I didn't really know how to make things work. It was a bit
It sounds like
like
you
you
were
said,
living you were kind of existing in different worlds. He's in this kind of
yes, it
party
was
lifestyle and
totally
you've got,
schizophrenic, or I don't know,
yeah,
like
And you've got these young children and you're grieving. You've just been orphaned, haven't you? You've just lost your only remaining
Yeah,
parent.
yeah, it was not easy. But it at least also when you have kids, I don't know, it like you are kind of forced to just
Keep going.
go with it, you know?
Keep fucking
It's
going.
also a blessing
Yeah.
because alone, I don't know, it would have been very, very different. And I had to really take everything and just go with it.
So
So,
then
but it
you
was, yeah, it was confusing because there was the drinking at home and my mom passed away and me in the middle. And at that time I quit my job because at first I thought the main problem was the job and the pressure at work, but it was because I was not, actually, I was kind of very, very tired because of the at night I was waiting for him to come home because I never knew if he would come home like fine or if he would come home like right after too much drinking. And then I had to check on my kids, my babies, I would say, because they were mostly babies.
that's a lot of I mean the anxiety around that itself is exhausting, isn't it? But, you
Crazy.
know,
I mean, at that time I really didn't understand it. I think it's
yeah,
just afterwards, like I would say years after, like it all,
you look back, don't you, and you think, oh,
yeah,
okay, that's why I felt so awful. That's why I did that.
yeah.
Yeah, starts to make
And
sense.
at the same way, sometimes again, like about the brain, is like I am often caught in very, very small problems and everything, and you're just overthinking. And when really big shit happens, then you find a strength that you don't even know you have.
I think that's an ADHD thing as well, you know.
Yeah,
I will be almost laying on the floor like a toddler because I don't know, I've spilt milk or something. But when a catastrophe happens, I'm like, right, buckle
yeah.
in, I've got this.
It's like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so
yeah.
I will not say that I love that because it's still, I don't know,
It
but
has
there
its
is
moments.
something. Yeah, it's like something. It's like the Wonder Woman
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
spiral.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, Natalie, let's whistle stop a little through now because I want to, if you're comfortable doing so, get to the point where you realise that something is wrong and that Leo hasn't come home. Just talk to me a little bit about what's happening around this time where, you know, we're going to get to the big terrible thing now.
Okay. So what happened was that like the drinking is going worse, and I try to talk about it, and it's not, honestly. I was just telling him like you have to choose. I mean, like, your family or the drinking, and then he would say the drinking, and then I would be pissed, and it would go over and over and over, and I'm really, I don't want my kids to grow up. I don't want my kids to see him when he's like that.
I get that.
So I'm thinking, okay, we should live separately. But again, because I'm in China, I don't want, and even in France, it will be an issue. But like if you leave the house, then you can have some, I don't know. After with the lawyer, it can become
Yes.
difficult
Yeah.
because So I didn't want this kind of problem. So I was like, I'm not moving, but I would love him to just take a flat or something. And finally, he does it. And there are some circumstances that's okay. Okay, so he's moving to a small studio in town, and we move also in another flat, and it's kind of really good actually because we don't have the bad side, and it doesn't want to get any worse, which is in China, and for like keeping the face. I don't even know if we say that in English, but it's all about the
Yeah.
keeping
Keeping up
the
appearances. Yeah.
pictures, yeah. And I'm fine with it. It's like I just want the peace. So it's okay, and we see each other like during the weekend, and the kids and everything. So I think it was. I'm sure it's a good decision. And so what will happen is like, so we see each other quite often. Sometime later, because if the party of the Saturday was too big, then of course it's late on the Sunday. And for me, it's more like I just want him to be happy when he sees the kids, and I just want the kids to see him this way because he could be, of course, a really nice person.
Yeah.
So it's there's really two persons. It's I always say it's really Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So
Yeah. Do you know what, Natalie?
so
I'm in recovery from alcohol dependency, and not to the same extent. I wasn't violent. I was actually a very jolly drunk, which I think meant that I hid
yeah,
it for a lot longer. But that sense of two different people, I can really relate to that actually, and how incredible to want to protect your children from the negative side of their father, but also to want to make sure that they see the good in him, that they see who he really is without that kind of alcoholic veneer. So I'm just brought that in.
yeah, no, but it was taking because I could feel how angry he was when he was like super drunk, and I could the hate. I
Mm.
don't hate. I don't know. It was like really wow. And of course, I need to say that I did try to tell him to go to see someone, but then I mean, China is not that. I
Right.
don't know now, but at that time it was really only crazy people
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
were,
yeah, yeah.
So it was like a disaster when I said that, and the guy seeing him just wrote something like uh, marital stress or something like that, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
huh,
It's always
really?
our fault.
So yeah, so we live apart, but then actually the relationship it isn't more peaceful. So this is okay. And till so it was in December. So during a weekend, he was taking part in a boxing competition, like not professional one, but it was a fundraising for some organization, and so it was actually pretty cool because he took it very seriously, and he was super fit and everything, like a lot of sports always, and so he would really commit to that fundraising. So for 2 months, he would have taken no alcohol because
Is in
you have to
training.
really train and everything, and he had coaches, and so it was pretty cool. And it's funny because I was at that competition, and I met the guy. I mean, the Italian guy who was against him, the fighter. And I remember I told him like because he realized like we were kind of like I knew him, and I said like it's okay, it's my I would say ex-husband, like because we were not divorced, but it was a bit like that. But so I said it's okay, don't worry, because he was sorry, I will hit your husband, and I was there because at that time I was working for a hospital, and then I said, oh, don't worry, I will not. It's okay, I will go for you, root for you, and then I was there and I saw the beginning of the fight, and then the guy was clearly like bigger and everything, and I began to see Leo like bleeding, and then that's what I completely like how to say switched.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I was yelling and I was like I always called him Baobei. So Baobei means in China sweetheart or
Yeah.
honey in Chinese. Sorry, not in China. And I don't know. I've been calling him like that every time, even when he was not really a sweetheart, but still I could not call him another way. So I was in the crowd and was like, "Oh, there, come on, come on!" And it was nice because on that day I really felt like like when people say like if you don't succeed in your marriage, at least you should succeed your divorce or your separation
Yeah.
or and I felt like that. I felt like wow, that's so cool. It's like everything is peaceful again,
Yeah.
and I was rooting for him, and he was happy to see me there, and he would see the kids the day after, and it was like really really nice, a nice time. So we on the following day actually we saw each other to celebrate our first son Thursday, and I helped him because he was like his ankle was hurt, and so I did put some bandage and everything. And so we left him, and the point was, the thing was to see him the next weekend. And the next weekend, um, On the Saturday evening, I was in a party and I went actually home earlier because I don't know. I didn't really feel well. I couldn't really name it, but I felt like I wanted to go home. And and on the Sunday morning, so I'm in my shower and my phone is ringing and ringing and ringing, and I finally pick the phone, and it's I don't know the number, and so I don't really pay attention, but it was the same number call like I think 3 or 4 times, so I was a bit surprised, and then it calls again, and then I answer, and a Chinese man was on the phone, and he asked me if I was Leo's wife, and then I said yes, and I was quite surprised because it was in Mandarin, so he's telling me that, and I don't know. After he's talking, and I'm just like, what happened? And I understand. I mean, I kind of figure out that he's like, I need to go. I need to go somewhere. Like the guy is calling me to come, and that Leo has a problem, and I think he's in the hospital, and uh, and the guy is really insistent. He's like, quickly, quickly, you have to come, quickly, quickly, and my Chinese is okay, but on the phone, it's it's
And
always more
speaking
difficult. So,
fast as well.
yeah, and I'm just like, yes, yes, okay, so I'm coming, I'm coming. And then I tell him when I will be in the taxi, I will give the phone to the driver because I didn't even understand the address. So I'm telling the kids, so they are like 5 and 3, 5 years old and 3 years old at that time. And I'm telling them, boys, quickly, quickly, you have to dress up like Papa needs you, and we need to go to help him. And inside, I'm just like, really, like, I'm sure he partied too much last night, and he had a problem. And for years, I've been telling him, like, be careful because you could get hurt. One day you will be in the hospital, or you will hurt someone, and without wanting it, and this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, oh, now we don't even live together, and I'm the one they
Still the
called.
one, yeah.
Okay, and then I text a friend, and I'm explaining that to him, and I don't know if it's him, or if I just question myself. I don't know. I feel like I don't want really to bring the kids there. It would be easier without them, but I don't really have someone to take care of them. So I try to reach friends, but of course it's in the morning early, I guess around 9. So they're still sleeping, and finally, it's okay. One answer. So I go to they come to pick up the kids, and then this guy is constantly calling me again. And I'm yelling at him. I'm just like, I have 2 kids, and they need, and I'm coming. Okay, and so I'm finally in the taxi, and I'm how do you say, progressing? Well, not procrastinating, but I'm thinking like, like
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
again? And it's me, and he could have a friend helping him, and why they call me, and so like that. And I will tell him blah blah blah. And when there is a police car just on the highway, it's not the highway, but kind of the ring. And then the taxi driver, because he listened to my conversation, because on that day it's a Sunday, but I was supposed to work for a Christmas tree event at the hospital, so I have to call my colleague. And then I'm telling my colleague we go to the hospital. In Chinese, I say all that, and the taxi driver said no, 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 no. And I'm just like, what? And then he showed me this police car on the street. And I'm just like, what? We're going to the police station. And then it's worse. Then I start to say, oh, he did
He's been
something bad, and they
arrested.
took him. Yeah, yeah. And he was drunk on the road, and blah, blah, blah.
All your sympathy is gone at this point, I imagine.
Yeah, totally. And so there we arrive. And so I enter the building, and nobody's really there. So I go, there's a guy at the counter, and so he gives me a wallet, his watch, and the phone. And he tells me to wait. So I go in the back of the room, and it's super silent and a bit dull. It's like I'm waiting. Nobody is really concerned by me. And then I hear some steps behind, so I'm thinking, oh, they bring him, and he will be like kind of a
Yeah.
bit, you know, like a child, taken
Yeah.
like for something. And but no, it's like two policemen are coming, and one is coming near me, and I said again, like, are you like his name in Chinese is Leon, so are you Leon wife? And I'm just like, yeah, it's me. And he says like, let's go to the hospital. And I'm just like, okay, so I understood it's a hospital thing. So they take me in the police car, and meanwhile I'm texting my friends because of course I don't know. So I'm just like, oh, now we're going to the hospital, and then we arrive, and it's a public hospital. So at that time I was working for a private hospital. This one is a public hospital, so
Yeah.
and not the fancy one, like the local, like not the like center of the city. It's more like famous outside, and tons of people there, like families waiting on the floor, beds with, and I'm just like, oh my god, he will be so pissed to be in this kind of hospital. I have to arrange the transfer as
Transfer.
soon as possible, because now I don't think it's like my brain is not pissed anymore. Now I'm thinking like I have to, organize it.
It's amazing, isn't it? The way your brain is going from
Yeah,
anger to concern
and
to
it's like
empathic. Yeah.
it's and then so I don't know. It feels weird because it's like the policeman doesn't really know where to go. I'm a bit confused. So we just go through the first building. Then there is a kind of small yard, and then there is a second building. And I'm telling him where do we go, where do we go, and he's not really answering. So and then we go downstairs, and it's not like, I mean, it's like you go to the storage or something. It's like, I'm just like, what? This is not a hospital. I mean, we are not going to a room. So then I think, oh my God, that's where they put the drunk people. Like in jail, or like, I don't know. I never
The
been
drunk
there, but
tank.
it's, yeah, yeah. So I still don't really understand what happens. And then we are there, and we arrive. It's a corridor, and it's really like, that like, well, yeah, kind of story. So there is a laundry hanging, there is a bicycle, there are like cupboards, and there is this door which is closed, and then there is a paper on the door with the guy number, and it's lunch break, and lunch break in China is like really really important.
I
So
noticed that in your book,
so
actually.
yeah, so we have to call the policeman is calling the guy, and he's arriving like his mouth full, and he's like big keys and everything. And I don't know, at that time it's like, I don't know if it's slow motion, and at the same time the time is like, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of a second. I don't know. It's like I turn my head, the guy's opening the door, I turn my head, and on the cupboards I notice some boxes, and I don't know, I have a flash, and I realize those are for ashes. And then, but I don't know how to say that, because it's like images. I don't even have time to think. But
Yeah.
so I see that, and I turn my head, and the door open, and I see the morgue. And I'm just like, the blood just removes from my body. And I'm looking at the cop, and I'm just saying him like, he's dead? And the guy just realized I didn't
Oh,
realize
no.
before. And and then his face is also horrified, because he realized I didn't know.
Oh, my God.
And then I'm just like, I I don't know how to describe that. I'm just, it's like he shoots stone on my head. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 like silent in my head. I just look, and then they just pull me to how do you say that, the
The
cupboard has
gurney.
some, and I'm just, and I see a face from behind. I just see a face, so I just understand they wanted me to recognize
Yeah,
the
to
the
identify
the,
him.
the corpse, and 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 first I see from behind, I see a small, I don't know, small hole, not a hole, but a kind of circle here, like kind of brown circle. And I know that's stupid, but first I just think, oh my God, he's being shot. I don't know. It's like, and I walk in the room, and he's so there are three like drawers, and he's the one near the floor, and of course it's him. I mean, like his face is him, but and it's not a bullet, it's a bruise, a small bruise. But then of course because he had his whole arm tattooed, and actually he had our initials on his arms, which he did actually after we got separated, but still because we were still a family. I mean, it was
You're still
outside.
united, aren't you?
So, and then even if I know it's him, and like there's no doubt about it, but I still unzip the thing just to, to see the tattoo. And at that time, I don't cry. The only thing I say in English, it's fun because we were always talking in English, so I don't use French, and I'm just fuck. I'm saying fuck. I don't know how many times, but I'm just the only word that can go out of my mouth, and it seems so unreal. And the cop just comes and tells me, please don't cry on the body because there should be no water on the body. And I'm just like, fuck. But I can't. I mean, so it's like, yeah, it's like a mind. Like, when you walk and,
Yeah, it is. It is.
it's like that in my brain is like,
And to not have anybody with you at this moment, to have that shock, I can't even imagine.
Afterwards, like after months, like people told me, actually, even they should have called the consulate to have someone with you to speak really the good. Anyway, so I'm just like that. And so then we go up again, and they say that I should tell the parents. I mean, like, and I'm just like, no, 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 no. My Chinese is no good, because the pronunciation in Chinese is really difficult. Yeah. And actually, the number 4, it can mean 4, but it can also mean death or dead. Just because of the tone, you're saying it, So I was like, no, I'm to just say something like that, and I'm just like, you call them. I don't want to call them. I go home. I know, and then at that time, so lucky. Sometimes I really think, even with my parents' death and even with friends, I don't know, sometimes I just think really there is something in the universe, like there is something happening. I really believe that, sometimes something will happen really crazy.
Serendipity or something.
Yeah, and because of course I'm not a big password woman. I never looked into the wallet or the password of a boyfriend or something like that. And so I have no clue what his password is, and it's blocked. And I'm just like, the phone, and someone is calling. I take the call, and it's just like, Leo, and just like, do you speak English? And thank God the guy is speaking English, and it's a really good friend of Leo. And I'm telling him, and I'm just like, he's dead. And the guy, I think, is just as surprised as me. And then I don't know, I give him my phone number so that he can, like we can communicate. And I'm just saying that to him, and he said like, okay, I will call you back. I will tell the friends. I will, because we are separated, so I don't know all his friends. Like most of them, I don't know. So thank God this guy called me at that time. So at least I have a contact.
Yeah.
And then I go. I think I don't go home first. I think no, I go to see my best friend. I'm not even sure I was crying. I'm still, completely in shock. So I text her, and we set up. We will meet in a cafe, like near a flat, and I sit there, and I'm still. It's incredible, and she is too. And the thing is, like, she's my best friend, so she knew what happened when the drinking was really bad, and etc. And she tells me, sorry, I can't be sad.
Wow.
And I'm just like, well, I'm sad.
And actually, you need somebody to be sad with you. It's very lonely.
And I'm just like, I'm sad for my kid.
Yeah,
I think
you
the first
can't be
thing was the
sad
kid.
because
I
of
was
him.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they don't have a father anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
And so young as well, 3 and 5,
yeah.
aren't they?
And I was 7 years more than him. So I was like, he was the young man,
Yeah.
the young one, you know, and the one doing, I'm not a sport person. I think he was the fit one,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. If it was not for the drinking, then he would be like super, super fit. But then, so, but still, of course, she's like, I'm sorry. No, and that time, because I was a bit pissed because she was separated from the dad of her son. She has a son, my friend, and we never see the dad. Like he's completely out of the picture. So she's like, it's like Julien. It's like, okay, he grew up without a father. It's okay. You will manage. And I'm so pissed because I'm just like, no, it's not the same. I mean, if one day your son wants to go to confront his father,
You can.
even to tell him the worst thing ever, he can.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's not the same.
No.
It's like, it's like, no, my son, they have a carpet that was just taken out of their feet. It's like, so, but it's not, I mean, it's a very peaceful conversation, but I just realized that she does not realize, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and, but still, she's super nice. So she said, like, because at that time, I have no clue how it goes with dead people in China.
No, I'm thinking it's scary enough in your own country.
So I don't even know if they bury him. Like, I don't know. So my friend says, like, well, if you want, like, we can gather a few friends at my place, and at least we'll do something like a kind of celebration, or I don't know, something just like
it's a sense of being together.
Yeah, and okay, so we text a few friends, and some of them are musicians, and so everyone said, okay, we will meet tonight.
You must have had to tell the children at some point.
No, but my sons, they are with friends, and they actually are taking part in this Christmas tree thing where I was supposed to work. So they are busy all day, so it's okay. So I don't have to worry about that. I'm just telling my friend that it takes longer than what I thought.
Yeah.
And then we do that things with the friends, and everyone's crying. I'm just like, wow. I don't know, it becomes real. And at that small gathering, a colleague of mine is there, and he says, like, okay, so you have to check, like, to meet maybe a psychologist, or like to check online how you just say the news to the kids, because this can be a huge trauma and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I'm telling them tonight. I'm going home and I'm telling them, no, but be careful. I'm just like, so in China, the grandparents from the husband side are called Yeye Nai Nai. So I just like, I have Yeye and Nai Nai coming to my place tomorrow morning. I don't know how they will, I don't know if they will be super, like nothing outside, or if they would be like super, like crying like crazy. I don't know. And I don't want my kids to be afraid. So I'm just like, I want to, as I think.
Sometimes you have to say, I'm the mother, I'll do what I think is best, right?
Because it's like, and so I go, so I pick up the kids, the friend, and who was with them, she just wants to know what happened, and I'm just like, and because I think if I say it, then I won't cry.
Mm-hmm.
It will be the kind of
Pandora's box will open,
like, Yeah. So I don't say I was, that's bad, but I will tell you later. And she's just like, no, come in the kitchen, tell me. And I tell her, and it's funny because actually she's Asian. She's not Chinese, but she's Asian, and she's capable of just like, nothing on her face is like crazy. So so I'm telling the boys, like, we go home, and I also, a friend of mine planned to come for the night with us, to spend the night, and I told her that I wanted her to come once the kids are asleep, and once I told them, because I want to be alone to tell them.
Yeah.
And so we go home, and then I'm just like, well, guys, I have something to tell you. You remember, like when grandma died, because at least they know about that. And at that time, even for my grandma, I never told them, like she flying to the sky or she's with the butterfly. No, I said like she's dead.
Yeah.
Maybe after everyone believes different thing, but she's lonely.
Yeah.
She's not lonely. So I said like, so my oldest son, like the 5 years old, he said, okay, yeah, I remember. And the 3 years old is like, look, I mean, he listens, but he just really doesn't get it because he was a baby at that time. And then I said, oh, well, actually, I went to the hospital, and your dad, I thought maybe it was an accident, but your dad is dead. And then my oldest son started to cry, and the second one just see him. It's it's terrible and cute at the same time because he doesn't really get it, but he sees his brother crying, so he cries.
It's
I was
just like
like,
mine. Mine were 5 and
but then
7, same.
yeah, and then very very quickly, I don't know, maybe not even a minute, and then the oldest one is just like, what happened? And I'm just like, well, listen, I don't know what happened. For
So at
now,
this
we don't
point, you
know.
have no, you don't know at this point how
We
he
have
died.
no idea. He was found on the street. Okay. And then, so I'm telling him, well, I don't know. He was at a, we knew he was at a party, and he went out, and they find someone called. He was dead already. And so I have nothing to tell them. So I'm just saying, maybe, I don't know, maybe he was walking and the car didn't see him. And I don't know. Really, I have no clue. And maybe the police will try to know. And tomorrow morning, Ian and I are coming because the police called them. And you need to know, they will be very sad. It's their only child. And I don't know how they will do. Maybe they will want to hug you very strongly. And you may be afraid, but I will be there, but I don't know.
I'm just going to take
So
a moment to just tell you how
yeah,
beautifully it sounds like you handled that for these scared, confused little boys. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but insofar as you can
yeah,
get it right, it sounds like you really did. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
that's really sweet of you because it's like you're just.
Oh.
It's like you drive a vehicle, you never learn how to. It's
I
like
sometimes
the
say that being
you
widowed
know
is,
the how you say that in English. I forget. NFO,
yeah,
NFO, like
UFO.
you're just you're at UFO. It's like
I often say that being
you
widowed
don't
is like
know.
being
It's like
dropped in a foreign country where you don't speak the language. And I'm thinking you
yeah.
literally were in a foreign country where you didn't fully speak the language. So,
Yes,
gosh.
yeah, and I'm quite so the friend who is staying for the first night with us speaks fluent, like speaks and reads Chinese, and she studied Chinese and everything, but she won't be there when the grandparents are coming. So, but still, I remember because we tried to sleep and we woke up both of us and we were in the kitchen and it was crazy. And I was telling her because that's what happened. I love to take picture and to post them in China. We have something. It's called WeChat. It's like Instagram
Yeah.
slash anything. But the day before his death, I picked up a 4-leaf clover, which I never did in my life, and I take the picture and I send it to my friend. And actually, during that night, I also called because I don't have my parents anymore, but I have my parents' best friends, a couple, and I'm calling them. I remember it because with the jet lag, I call them. It's night, and I'm telling them Leo is dead, and blank, because what do you say? And it's so sudden. And with my friend that night, we're just like, I knew. I told him like 1,000 times that something could get wrong, but fuck. I mean, that word, I said it. I don't even remember how many times. It's so unreal, so unreal. And at the same time, I need to say very quickly, I started to think how lucky it was for my kids that they learned to live without him
Yeah.
already a bit compared to
Yeah.
you or it's because still he could not be here and it was still okay. So that at least made it a little less confusing for them. Of course, after some time not seeing him, like it's the same, but still.
They've
But
kind of
on
got
the
that
other
faith
end,
that mum can handle it because mum's handled it on her own already, so they've
Yeah,
seen
I
you
mean,
do that.
on my own, I don't know, because I had at that time I had a nanny that was like really wonderful. Could not have survived all these years, like even my mother death and Leo's death, and she was there all the time. And oh my god, she's like so wonderful,
Family.
and and she was my only, she was my family actually. You
Yeah.
know, we still see each other when we go to China, but so yes, so this day is, so the next morning the grandparents are coming. So the grandfather is quite composed, and he's like kind of inside. My grandma, like their grandmother, is like, of course, and so she threw herself at my older son, and he looks at me like, at least he knew, you know, but
Yeah,
it's
you'd warned
like,
him.
you told me that, and the second one is just like, oh my god, I don't want this to happen to me. And of course, she does it also, and that's only from there that with them I will go to the police station. They will try to tell us what happened, and those are very, very confusing weeks because it's very difficult to know what happens. And then hopefully his friends are really present. And yeah, and so because the grandparents are there, and the friend called me. So we go to the Leo studio in town. I'm sorry if everything is a bit confusing
No.
because I'm just going through my memory. And so we go for the first time to the studio he was living in. I never visited him, so I didn't even know how the flat looks. But uh, I mean, maybe 4 or 5 friends of him are there, and of course the parents are with me, and the friends, they are super nice. They say like, you know, don't worry, we will organize a fund and like to raise money, and we don't bother with the that's it. You know, when someone is dead and you just stay night and day with some candles or whatever, you know.
Vigil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because, and I just learned, and because they say like, don't bother, we will manage that, and I don't even know there is one. And they say for 7 days and nights, someone must be there all the time, even if the body is actually at the morgue. It's not there, but in the flat. So they organize. A picture is already printed. It's like, wow. And
They've moved
they just
past.
deal, yeah. And I said, like, should I be there? Because, and they're just, no, no, you are with your kids, go home with your kids, but with the parents, and we will just make turns and everything. So to make sure, like, everything is. So that's how I learned, okay, there will be this. So after that, I don't really know. And then what happens also is, I don't remember when I met her, but there is, oh no, it was this thing there. There's a woman, and I know, immediately I know it's the girlfriend. And because she's super posh. You know, she makes me think about, I don't know if you remember it, Dita Fontees,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yeah.
this kind of look, you know,
Yeah.
super white, like the
Very
hair,
glamorous.
like black hair, red lipstick, you know. And she's there, and it's a friend, of course, but I know. And then with, I think the police, well, we go another time at the morgue, and I think I never know if it's the last time I see him, or if not. So I remember, so oh yeah, we go to the mall with the parents. Oh my god, because the father goes inside, and I'm just nearby the corpse. You say when it's a dead person. So I'm sitting there on the floor, and the dad is coming, so I'm just going a little bit further to let him. And they try. This I think is the most horrible thing I saw. They try to bring the mother in. And there is an uncle and an auntie there, and they carry her because really, like, she collapsed. Like, she's so sad. It's like, and I remember because they want to bring her inside, and she's yelling. And at one point,
Don't want
I
to
tell
go.
them, stop. Just, she can't. And she just, I remember her collapsing on a chair, like if someone just slapped her, or, you know, like she's like, all her strength is like gone. It's like, it was really, really terrible. And then so we have to go. Like they tell us to go, and I don't know if it's the last time I will see him. So I kiss him, and then that woman, the girlfriend, is coming, and she kisses him, and then I'm
Wow.
just like, I knew. I think she did it because I did it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's okay. For me, it's okay. But for the parents, I don't know if they saw or not, but and then after everything is organized, but that time, thank God, I have this friend, the one who called the first time, who is trying to tell me what will happen, because I feel like my in-laws, they are not explaining me anything, so I'm just like, oh. And they're staying at my place because they always stayed at my place, even before. So I have them at home. And so we make it's like their tradition. It's like you have pictures you have every day. So the dad is cooking a fresh meal of that was loved by the deceased, and place it a chicken, all his favorite dishes. So every day he's cooking a new one, and we burn incenses every time we go through. We go in the room, and there is the picture. So we stop and we light incenses, and the kids are doing it also. And yeah, it's pretty.
Very intense. Very intense.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know how long it will be.
Yeah.
And what is quite not easy at that time is like we still don't know what happened. And thank God the girlfriend takes everything under control, because she starts to investigate, and she's the first one to say, okay, we have to go to the company that was organizing the party. We have to tell them. We have to. I don't know. At the beginning, I don't really know what she wants to do, and then very quickly she said, "Like we have to get money from them." And I am so pissed with that,
You're thinking this is
because
just
I'm just,
money. Yeah.
I just like, what? I mean, why is not just everyone crying? Like, why speak about money? I mean, that's not the point. I don't know. It's really difficult for me to understand that, but I'm following, because we just move as a group, so I'm following. And so they ask so that they can inquire like what happened, and we want to know exactly what happened. And because it was after we have to go and check the CCTV, like the cameras of the where we see him actually super drunk being carried by security guards. And that's a shock. I mean, that's like, whoa, it's horrible. I mean, I don't know. This part was really horrible, because I don't know, you just see. And for me, actually, it still makes me sad. It's like he was the kind of person to always be late or to be the last one to come back, because he would drop the friends who were drunk or having some issues
They
before
take
going,
care of them.
and he died alone. And that for me, it was really heartbreaking, especially because one of his friends was at the party. And he said that he left before, and he was like, "Oh, but like he was always the last one to leave, etc." And I can't say that now, but oops, sorry.
Dropped an AirPod.
Yeah,
That's the
I
downside to
always,
them.
I always thought this guy was lying. I don't know. At that time, it really felt like, these TV series, like like this investigation, and it felt really like really we
I
didn't
remember
know.
that, feeling
We're
like I
going
was
to,
in a drama.
yeah. And this guy, from the beginning, and actually that's the only point of agreement I had with my mother, that this guy was, I don't know, quite weird.
I was just going to ask you if you ever found out what was the cause of death.
I mean, I'm spoiling my book.
Oh, you got to buy the book to find out. I
No,
see.
no, but it was really complicated. That's like actually when we were before, like you were asking me why did I change the name on the book. It's because what happened with this company was finally they gave us some, how you say, there is a term for this kind of
Compensation?
money. Yeah. And we had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So a non-disclosure agreement, I didn't want to go into. I mean, and my point when I wrote the whole story was not to point that out. The point was the story.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And the point was also to, because you will see at the end, but at the end, I the last chapter is with our real names, because only now it happened 2 years ago. So only 8 years after did I understand the whole. I don't know. It's not that I understood the whole story, but it brought me closure
Yeah.
on many levels, and even the drinking thing, I understood
Yeah.
why.
And that's really important in healing, isn't it?
And it would not have changed anything, but at least maybe I know maybe some people will say like, oh no, that's bullshit. But for me, it is. So for me, it did help,
Yeah.
and so that's fine. But I did try like tons of things, like Medium and everything. People
Yeah.
like talking because to know what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. And I'm the same. I'll never know. And actually, Natty, we did just mention your book, and I am just going to show it to the camera because I have a copy of Natalie's book, which is called Balbay, which is the pet name that you had for Leo. And one of the questions I had for you around the book was, why did you change the names? Because I'm near the end. I'm over 200 pages in, but it's a hefty book, right? So but that explains it. So this was because there's a non-disclosure agreement, so you're kind of protecting.
Yeah, I don't want to have any because the party was organized by a huge
Right.
worldwide known company.
I understand.
So I just change it, and I just sorry for my Chinese friend, but it's a Chinese company, and even yeah, it's like that because I don't really. The point for me was not. The point for me was the relationship in itself.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of the relationship and how it can drown also, and also all this part about the cultural difference and to experience death in another culture. And because that when we are at that time of the story, so the rituals are coming on, and I don't know when they will stop, and it feels like sometimes it feels good because I need to say, if I don't know how you did experience it, but for example, we would spend hours folding some papers in a shape of old Chinese money so that we can burn this money, because for Chinese people, the dead is going naked and broke, let's say, in heaven. So you have to burn things to bring to send him. And I need to say, even if sometimes I was really fed up with all these things. And some, for example, this folding, like, late hours when you cannot sleep and the kids are sleeping, but you are still awake and you're thinking. And then we were with the grandparents silently folding our things. And I think it does help tremendously.
There was one that stood out in your book for me, and it was about the clothing. And was it your mother-in-law wanted not only the clothing that he had been wearing, but also it was anything that he touched, so bed sheets, anything.
Yeah.
Is that so? It's buried with them.
So no, it's burnt.
Yeah.
I did try to understand, and apparently some things are common everywhere, but some things are really depending on the province you are, like originally from. But that was a big thing, because first there was the thing that he should wear. This is quite often, in China, for example, for New Year, you have to buy yourself new clothes. It has to be new. And the dead person should wear something new too. And I was like, no way. I mean, he had a dressing and shoes not even worn. And I was like, there's no way I let you. And my mother-in-law has a mother-in-law taste in fashion. And he was really picky, and really, he would change 3 times a day for different events, and super always very Italian style and whatever. So I was like, no, there's no way we are buying stuff. Look, and thank God the friend backed me up. So they said like, no, look, we can find some super new things. And so that was the first thing. And then I learned that we had to burn all his clothes. And I think no, just before that, I
Weight,
said,
doesn't
well,
it?
actually, for the clothes, I know there is an organization, and they would be super happy to get all the clothes, and it will be useful for young people like with not too much money and everything. And then we were just no, 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 it has to be burned. And then it's all, again, that thing is like, you're going naked, so you have to have all your stuff, and the more you have, the better you will be. But it comes like, and you do that thing, and so on some particular days, you do that in the streets, which is funny because I never saw that. And it's like China is kind of big on regulations and this kind of stuff. So I was like, so everyone goes in the street and is lighting a fire
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the middle of Shanghai. It's really crazy, but that really happens because after that, of course, I started to see on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pavement, the
Just see it
signs.
everywhere.
Because what they do is that actually, yeah, they draw a door and you will burn the thing. And but of course you cannot burn everything. So all the remaining clothes are put in some bags, and the day of the cremation you bring them and everything will be burned together. But then they said like, yeah, even the beddings, everything, the towels, and I'm just, so this finally they didn't do. They just said, okay, the clothes. And for me, actually, I wanted to keep some stuff
Yeah, I
for
was
my
thinking
kids.
about that. I've had teddy bears made for my kids with the clothes and things.
Yeah.
Did you say hi,
And
Sam?
uh, and that was a big thing because so they said, and I could see. I mean, I've seen her quite upset, right? But mostly 2 or 3 times. And the first time was because she didn't want an autopsy, so we couldn't make one because she didn't want. And she was really, really
And you
like
and both his
angry with it.
parents had to agree, didn't you, for an autopsy to
Yes, that's
happen?
right. Yeah. And then, so that was the first thing she was upset with. And then the second one when I said, actually, I said first, like, for example, my dad, I kept some stuff, like, in France, we like to keep some maybe objects or
Mm.
like, and it was like, no, no. And then, of course, I'm just like, well, fuck. I mean, then, of course, I went one day and I just took some clothes and I took two football, soccer shirt, He was not playing, but during the weekends when he was more relaxed, then he would wear them. And we have a lot of pictures with that. So I took the thing, and I took also because there were brand new Nike Adidas shoes, like because he was working with them, those brands. So we had a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of like friends, like yoga teachers, and they would definitely need this kind of thing. So I did, and I was like, those were not worn. So even my mother-in-law cannot accuse me of
Yeah.
anything. He didn't wear them, so it's okay. But then one day, actually, so I never told him that I kept that. And one day, I put them in a box. And one day, my sons were also trying a hat. I remember, and my mother-in-law, she just opened the door, and she is horrified, but really, like it's like she saw the devil.
Yeah,
And then I
such
was
a big
really pissed, and
thing.
I said like, "Come on! I mean, they are 5 and 3, and I'm sorry, but they will forget.
Mm.
You know,
Let them
they
have
will
something of their
forget your
dad.
son. So I'm sorry, but it's fine. He will not die because he's wearing the hat of his died father. I mean, it's like I must have like patience and everything. But after it was like 5 or 6 weeks together in my flat, the rituals and the fact that I was not um, yeah, I always learn things too late or because I talk with someone else, it was really, really special. And so I did. And this become actually one of our rituals, like since that on Father Day, each of them is wearing a
Yeah,
soccer shirt and we take a picture. And
that's
so
nice.
we have them, because
That's
we
nice.
don't do much. They never want, at the beginning, I always told them, like, do you want we do something on his birthday or on the day we learn he died, they are not right into that, but the football thing, the soccer, sure, they still
And
do
it's
it.
nice to create a tradition for the three of you.
Yeah.
And Nathalie, I know that you led a very interesting life since Leo's death as well. You've lived this nomadic lifestyle, and I really want to find out more about it. But I have to go and get my son from school, so I think we're
Yeah.
going to have to put a pin in it here. I could talk to you for hours, and I'm looking at the time, thinking, God, how much more can I get her
Oh
to
my
tell
God,
me in
it's
five
already.
minutes?
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm so
But
sorry.
I can do. Don't worry. I
Well,
can
do you
do
know
that
what I do? I
very good.
sometimes invite people back to do what's called a chatty episode, which is where they talk about what their life has looked like since the death of their partner.
If you
And
want
I think
to,
you would be an amazing person to talk to about that because,
sure.
how amazing just to take your children and go traveling. So I really would love to talk to you more. Unfortunately, Natalie, I am going to have to let you go, even though I feel like there's still so much more talking to do. But before I do, Natalie has written this incredible book. I know I mentioned it before, and it really is focused on the love story and the dynamic and living, in this completely alien culture and having to figure out how to firstly exist and then to be a widow. So, guys, buy the book and then you can find out more. But also, Natalie is going to come back on, I hope, and talk to us some more. Natalie, if people want to find you, where can they find you? Where can they buy your book?
Well, it's on Amazon,
Yeah,
very simply.
everything's.
There is a link that I can actually forward
Yeah, we'll
you,
put
and
that
then
in the show notes.
they could, yeah, or they could just contact you, and yeah, they can find me also on Instagram. But I'm writing a newsletter, but it's I did begin in French and English, but I dropped the English version because
I
it
don't
was
blame
too
you.
much for
Just
my
run it
brain.
through AI, Natalie. That will
It,
sort it out for
yeah,
you.
yeah, and I started to write actually because after that, after everything happened, we started travel, and I did start to write that.
Yeah, it's very
So that
cathartic writing, isn't it? It really is. There's
yeah, I
something
think,
just very powerful about putting all those thoughts down on paper
and
or
to
in your phone.
understand the, you know, I need to say, even if it's sometimes difficult to say that, but to understand maybe not why everything happened, but how it did lead you to
Yeah,
the
how it's
life
shaped
you
you as
are,
a person.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. I agree. And I think also sometimes we've climbed this enormous mountain of grief. It's an ongoing process, but sometimes you don't really take the time to look back down the mountain and see how
yeah,
far you've come.
yeah.
And writing it down, I mean, when I wrote my book, I'm reading back through and I'm thinking, oh my God, did I do that? Because you can't, it feels like a different person in a different lifetime. But Natalie, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm
And
very, very happy I'm really thrilled. And it's funny because I think even years before I would not have contacted you.
yeah,
And also because one thing I did not mention, but I think it's important maybe for some of your listeners, it's because for many years actually, the fact that I was separated from Leo, I was thinking like, well, and everyone would say, well, it's not the same.
where do I fit, right?
And I think I didn't really. I was like, okay, don't complain. I mean, you were separated. It's not,
Yeah.
but still, I was sad, and I'm still
Yeah,
sad,
of
and
course you were. And your
and
children are grieving their father. And it's
yes,
very complicated around separation because so often the separation comes about because of an issue that their partner has, which ultimately contributes to their death. So, and you just do what you can with the knowledge that you have in the moment. But
I think we are all the same. I mean, we do our best when it is,
we're all
and
just spinning around gormlessly in the dark, I think, quite a lot of the time.
yeah.
Well, for anybody that has been listening today, perhaps you've been affected by the subject of the episode, or perhaps you want to find out more. So I will put a link to Natalie's book in the show notes. And for now, it really is goodbye from me and from Natalie. I will be back with you next week with another story from the coalface of widowhood. But until then, please do take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Rosie, and thank you for listening, everyone.
Take care, guys. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you think someone else may benefit from this, please do share. We'd also really appreciate a quick review. It helps more people find the show.